As mentioned, we'll be talking today about sales tax in the e-commerce environment. And we've been hearing a lot for a long time, basically, about the taxation of transactions that occur on the internet. Should they be taxed? How they should be taxed? Where they should be taxed? And why some sales are taxed and others are not? I'll talk today a bit about the legislative environment, what is the status, where things stand, and what can be done also to minimize and reduce exposure associated with sales taxes, especially online sales. Feel free to save your questions, and as was mentioned, we'll definitely have a Q&A session at the end. Everyone should probably have the flyers and the slides that were distributed in the PDF form, so I'll be using those as sort of a guideline as I go forward. So starting from slide number 2, the question is basically, why bother with sales tax? Bottom line answer is, we have to. It's a tax just like any other tax, and it is one of the ways that we fund government activities. So we need to comply with sales tax, not because we want to, but because we have to. So then the question is, why not impose it also on transactions on the internet? Essentially, there's no justification to answer that in the negative. It should be imposed on those type of transactions. The internet really is nothing more than a method for communication and for transferring information. There's no reason why it should be treated any differently than if I am making the very same transaction or purchase using a telephone, a fax machine, or making the purchase in person. Can anyone think of really a valid argument why the internet should be a tax-free zone? To date, the main reason why sellers have not collected taxes on the internet-related sales is simply because they could get away with it. And the question is why? This leads us to a brief discussion of the legal and legislative environment of e-commerce and sales taxes. If you proceed to the next slide of statutory review. So why are we here? Many people associate the internet as a tax-free zone with the Internet Tax Moratorium Act, which was enacted back in 2002. And that is actually an inaccurate assessment. The Tax Moratorium Act was enacted by Congress for the specific purpose of not allowing governments to enact new taxes that are associated specifically with the internet. These were the heydays of the internet when people did not really understand what was the internet. Is it a new frontier? Does this new place indeed have no borders? Who is the government that governs the internet? And these are just some of the questions that came up at the time with regard to the commercial environment of the internet.